We promised, Dalton, that we would preview every Power 5 team. And I want to say 5 because we are not forgetting about the 2 Pac-12 schools that are remaining in Oregon State and Washington. Everyone else forgot about these 2 schools but us. We are previewing the Oregon State Beavers as of right now. They have the 3rd straight winning season last year under Jonathan Smith. They hadn't had 3 straight winning years since 2009. Unfortunately, they're really building from the ground up right now. Jonathan Smith left to take the Michigan State job following the year. And like I said before, Oregon State is one of 2 Pac-12 schools left behind while the entire conference disintegrated, basically. And now they're playing basically they're still members of the Pac-12, but they're basically playing a Mountain West schedule in 2024. And they try to figure out what's next for them in terms of conference membership. Defensive coordinator Trent Bray is now the new head coach, and they'll have basically a brand new roster to work with after most of their key players declared for the draft or transferred out of the program as of right now. But Dalton, what is the biggest strength from the current iteration of the Oregon State Beavers?
It's actually the same biggest strength that they had last year, and that's their offensive line. Obviously, they lost the big name in Taliso Fuaga in the first round of the NFL draft, but you bring back a couple guys with a lot of experience like Josh Gray and Grant Stark. So I think that's where you start. You brought in Van Wells to play center from Colorado, also as a solid pass blocker. That offensive line is still going to be the key to the whole thing, right? Just like it was last year, even though they had DJ Uiagalelei and Silas Bolden and Damian Martinez and Jack Velling and obviously all the guys that they lost to the transfer portal. But their offensive line really was the heart and soul of their team last year, and it should continue to be that.
Absolutely. And the biggest weakness is basically they're hitting the reset button everywhere, right? I mean, I mentioned before, Jonathan Smith left the program, so you lose your head coach. Anytime you lose your head coach, a lot of your best players are going to leave, right? Because that's the coach they committed to. Not only that, you basically got relegated as a program. So all the players coming in thinking, hey, I'm playing for a Power 5 Pac-12 school. Now you're basically playing for a Mountain West school right now. So a lot of players think, I didn't sign up for this. I'm going to leave there too. So you look at the roster right now, offensively and defensively, there were 26 players who played 300 snaps last year for Oregon State. Only 4 of them came back to school. The other 22 are gone in the portal or in the NFL draft. So, Dalton, I mean, doing this preview was honestly really difficult because so many of their starting lineup, you're like, they were backups. I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of them this year, including the quarterback in Ben Gilbranson, the new quarterback for Oregon State right now. Tell me more about him.
So it's funny because actually before DJ Uiagalelei came in last year, he started 8 games for them in 2022, right? And what he is kind of a classic pocket passer and kind of I guess I'll call it unique over-the-top delivery. It's a little bit strange, but it gets the job done at times. I think, sometimes it kind of messes with his accuracy and his footwork a little bit, kind of looks, I don't know, almost like herky-jerky, kind of leans back a little bit, but no, I mean, if he makes quick decisions and he can get the ball, much like Uiagalelei, to the intermediate parts of the field in play action, then he can have some success. The problem for him is he really has a much easier time throwing, obviously, when his feet are set. He's got a 30 career passing grade under pressure. So you're talking about a guy who needs that offensive line to be his biggest strength. And if it is, then he stands a chance to succeed. But if nothing else, he's got starting experience from 2 years ago and from this past year's bowl game, despite it being a tough loss to Notre Dame.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a really good guy protecting him up front in Joshua Gray, who's one of the most experienced players that we have in college football. He's entering his 6th season of college football and his 5th season as a starter. 86.9 run blocking grade over the last 3 years. That is 10th among Power 5 tackles. He really shines on gap plays, has the 6th best grade among Power 5 tackles over the last 3 years with a 79.8 grade. Elite athlete as well, placed in the 97th percentile or better in our GAS score in each of the last 4 years. Now, he was the left tackle for the last 4 years for Oregon State. He's actually projected to move inside to left guard this upcoming season for the Beavers. So we'll see how he makes a transition over to left guard, but wherever he plays doesn't really matter, man. Joshua Gray is a really, really good player on that offensive line for Oregon State.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that needs to be a place of stability, and they're going to have an even harder time finding stability on defense. One guy they can look to who is returning amongst all the other guys who transferred out, but Jaden Robinson at corner is a really, really good athlete and a ball hawk at that. He forced 10 incompletions last year, which were the fourth most among Pac 12 corners in a conference where it's really, really hard to cover, right? Last year when you had Caleb Williams and Michael Penix and Bo Nix and everybody slinging the ball around. He really competes for the football, and sometimes that's all you can ask for when you're playing all those high-flying attacks. But playing a schedule like this that might be a little lighter on passing attacks, you could really see Jaden Robinson at corner star for them.
Absolutely. So you mentioned before, Dalton, they play an easier schedule right now, right? So you hear all this. You hear how they only brought back 4 of their top 26 players from last year, and you think, oh, man, it's going to be a disastrous year. They play the Mountain West schedule, and their win total on FanDuel is 7.5. So they should expect a 4th straight winning season, right? So what are you expecting out of Trent Bray in his first year as head coach for Oregon State, as they're basically playing a Mountain West schedule right now?
Well, it tests that theory of, when people talk down about the group of 5 and, oh, they shouldn't get a playoff spot or it's so much less talented and Power 5 teams backups could beat up on the group of 5 all day. Well, now we're going to test that because you have a depleted Oregon State team that's going to play a mostly Mountain West schedule. And, well, then go out there and succeed and prove that over on the 7.5 or, if you're really that good, go undefeated or whatever. But, no, I think Trent Bray in his first year, he's going to try to find, just keep finding that culture even with all the guys have left, right? Like play with pride. You still have to go out there and compete. These are good teams, man. If you're playing the Boise States and UNLVs and these Fresno State, these are good football teams. So if you go out there and take them lightly, you are going to lose, right? So go out there and compete. Go out there and make your bowl game. If you can do better than that, great. The fact is, this is one of the 2 teams that's just really going to be in limbo until the conference situation gets figured out. So it's hard to place like high goals on it. Like the question for me would be, now there would be an Oregon win in there. So if they were to upset Oregon and go undefeated, you probably get in a playoff spot. Let's say they lose to Oregon, but they go 11-1. What do we do? What happens then?
I don't know. At large? Are they like an at-large team? Like, I don't.
Is that a thing? Would they be number 11 or
would they play?
How does that?
Will they play a Pac-12 championship game against Washington State, no matter what their records are? That would be
no, because don't you have to have like 12 teams minimum or something to do that?
I think so, but how freaking electric would a Pac-12 title game with those? I'd be all in. We do a full preview of that game, dude. I don't care what the records are.
We do a super preview. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
That would be awesome. That's a weird question to ask. They would be classified as a group of 5 team, I would imagine. Well, they can't. No, they wouldn't be. They'd be one of the at-larges.
You can't do that because then the group of 5 is going to be all up in arms about it. You can't. They're officially a Power 5 school, so you really can't give them that 12th spot.
Can you imagine if they did that and they're like, oh, just kidding. You know how we promised you a playoff spot? Now we're actually giving it to another Power 5 school.
Here's Oregon State. Yeah, that would be rough.
That would be rough.
That wouldn't. Oof. But no, I mean, it's weird to put expectations on a situation like this, but I would think the goal is to still like go out there and compete, at least get into a bowl game and just win as many games as you can.
Oh, absolutely. I think 7, like you said before, I think 7-5, 8-4, like, yeah, that's certainly possible. And that's, again, it's not really indicative of how good of a team they are. It's really just more because they're playing a much easier schedule right now. And I think there's some stuff to like. I mean, you look at their schedule. They play Oregon, they play Purdue, and the rest of it is Mountain West, and they play Washington State, of course. They play Cal, actually, so they do have another Power 5 team in their schedule. And they round it out with Boise State at the end of the year. Now, I will say, I mean, you say, oh, yeah, they're playing a Mountain West schedule. It's going to be a lot easier. Mountain West, I know the American Athletic Conference is always thought of as the best group of 5 conference. It still probably is. Man, the Mountain West is right there with them, man. Mountain West is really good this year. There's some really, really good teams in the Mountain West this year. So it's not going to be a cakewalk for Oregon State. That's why their win total is only at 7.5 right now. But it'll be interesting to see what they do in their first year as members of the Pac-2, basically. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. But I think Oregon State, we didn't forget about you, and we have a full preview for you like we promised. But that's what we got for our preview of the Oregon State Beavers. Hey, thanks for watching the PFF College Football Show. Before I let you go, though, we have an unbelievable deal for you guys right now. If you use the code CFB25, you get 25% off your PFF Plus annual subscription. We've got the 2024 college football preview guide that you can find over at pff.com, featuring the best players in the country from all 70 Power 5 teams, plus 10 Group of 5 teams that have the best chance at making the college football playoff as well. You can also gain access to NCAA premium stats for historical games, teams, and player tracking dating all the way back to 2014, so the last decade or so of college football. All the stats you can hope for, you can find in PFF Premium as well. Also, you can be the GM of your favorite NFL team with our unbelievable mock draft simulator, where you can draft up to 7 rounds of players for your NFL team. And if you want to dominate your fantasy league, you can do that as well using the best fantasy tools on the planet. All of that and more with your PFF Plus annual subscription, which you can find for 25% off right now with the code you can find in the description. Or if you want to go to subscribe.pff.com and use the code CFB25 at checkout. Again, you get 25% off your PFF Plus subscription. This won't last forever, so make sure you take advantage of it right now.